Welcome again to the Actor's Vow. This is Denise Borratrabat, and I'm so excited to be here with you another week. I don't have a lot of updates on my life right now. Since I talked to you last week, I've honestly just been at home. I did bake cookies, which I ate all in one night because, there was nothing better to do. And I have been watching movies. I have started Parks and Rec, which I had never seen. I'm a big fan of The Office. I have always loved The Office, and I've had so many people for so long tell me, you have to watch Parks and Rec. And I had started a long time ago. I watched a few episodes and I was like, I do not get it. I don't really like it. And now I've been forcing myself to watch it. I'm in season 3. I like it better. I think it's funny. I like it, but I can't help myself compared to The Office. And to me, The Office is a whole other level. Even like the acting, I think The Office is just way better. But let me know what you think. I don't know if you guys like The Office or Parks and Rec or any of those shows. But today I have a very exciting guest because, I always say I love to talk about things that I know about, and the things that I don't know about, I want to bring the best experts for you. And this is one of the cases because our guest today is Annie Little, and she is a voice coach specialized in singing and actress because herself, she's an actress. I will tell you more about her after I introduce to you the Sunday Spotlight of this week. This week's Sunday Spotlight is Aidan Laliberte, and I am so excited for you guys to read his story because he is truly a very cool person. He was born in New Jersey, but he's based in Connecticut right now, which is close from New York City or Boston, and he is an actor, writer, content producer, strategist. Aidan has his own production company called Little Fire. He has his podcast called Working Overtime, and a social commentary documentary that is coming out on the YouTube channel. It's called Gather, and it's launching shortly after the new year. It covers all sorts of amazing topics from climate change to social justice to what the concept of style is. I watched one that was about what being sexy and what sexy means. It is very cool to see what he is doing with his company and how he is using art in many different ways to create community. You guys will be able to read Aidan's interview this Sunday on the Actors Vow Instagram page. But if you want to follow him and everything he's doing before that, his Instagram handle is at LittleFireLF, at LittleFirelF. So let's talk about Annie Little, our special guest today. Annie is a voice coach, but she is also a musician herself and an actress. She co-wrote and recorded the songs that appeared in that stop-motion campaign that launched the Amazon Kindle. She also has publishing deals as a songwriter, released albums. She has had songs licensed for film, TV, and commercials. And as an actress, she has guest starred and recurred in numerous hit TV shows. She had a supporting role in an Academy Award-winning Best Picture film, which we talk about in the interview, and how she got that role. And she has also appeared in over 50 national TV commercials as an actress or as a singer. And as a voice coach, she's also a certified teacher of the Institute of Vocal Advancement. She is all around a very talented person, an awesome coach. You should follow her on her social media. That's where I found her, and I thought her content was awesome because she gives you tips about things you can do at home. She gives you tips about your voice, and it's very educational. So don't forget to follow her on at annielittle.voice because she has really cool stuff there. And also she's a very sweet person. Doing this interview with her was awesome. It was such a good time. And we had just met when we did this interview, and it's just like she tells us so many things. It's like talking with a friend. She answers a lot of questions if you want to be in musical theater, or if you already are, or if your goal is to be on Broadway, or even if you're an actor and you don't want to sing and you think that's not for you. She also talks about voice for actors because she had to learn how to use her voice for acting in film, actually, and she will talk about that in the interview. I don't think she needs further introduction. Let's give a warm welcome to Annie Little to the Actor's Vow. Welcome, Annie, to the Actor's Vow. It's so exciting to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
Okay, so the first question I want to ask you is, I know you're a voice coach, but you're also an actor. And the first question I ask everybody that comes to the podcast is, what made you want to be an actor?
I feel like I had this inkling of wanting to be an actress clear from when I was a little kid and kind of seeing actors on TV and also I was already doing music, so I had this inclination to want to perform and do little plays at home and stuff like that. So it always was just something that I was drawn to. I think the storytelling and the fun of being able to embody someone else that's maybe you feels like it's a part of you, but that you get to embody this other whole character, this other part of you.
Yes. Yeah, I think we all can relate to that. Yes. I would love for you to tell us the story of how you got cast for Argo, because I read it and I thought it was so cool.
That was really fun. So I got that audition and I remember reading that I needed, well, first of all, I was just thrilled to get the audition to begin with, right?
Yeah,
I was in the
course.
middle, I was shooting an independent film that actually had Nazanin Banyadi in it and some other actors that were Iranian and were also auditioning for Argo. And then, so while I'm working with all these actors and they're already talking about, this film that Ben Affleck is doing, suddenly I get in my email this audition that came through and I just was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm going to get to audition for this. So it asked for I think it just said a British or European accent. So I had worked on a British accent before, or a standard British accent, and I just decided for this project that it was important enough to me that I seeked out a dialect coach for that audition, and I worked with someone on that and helped me find that kind of sing-songy airline attendant voice that I ended up using for the role. So I went in and I did the audition and I was like, do I go in dialect or do I go in as my normal self, which I'm just from Salt Lake City, Utah. It's not very, it's not exactly European. Yeah. And I'm seeing also people, I saw this other actress I remember that I knew who was Swedish, and I see her in the parking lot and I'm like, they're going to use her. Right. I'm not going to get this. Although I knew they were booking three airline attendant roles for the part. So I went in and I did decide to go in dialect. And I just, when the casting director asked me where I was from, I just said in my dialect, that I'm from Salt Lake City. And, and I just went ahead and said it right in my dialect. And she didn't even bat an eye. And I did my audition and I heard nothing for at least 3 weeks. I didn't have any idea. And then I finally got the call that I had booked it and was over the moon, of course. And then I think the sort of most exciting part of that whole story was that, so I worked further. When I got the script, I remembered reading this part because it was, it wasn't in my original sides that I had worked on. There was this thing in the script that said that my character speaks a line of German into the walkie-talkie, and I was like, do they know I don't speak German? I don't speak German. Yeah. So I reached out to another friend who spoke German, and I said, I think that this is what's happening right now, and I would maybe say something like, I had an idea of what I might say. So he gave me some options and we worked on how to say a few lines in German, and I wrote them down and I had him record them and I would listen to them and tried to really get those into my body. So then when it came to the day of, I shot for 3 days and the first day was, I got just really dumped into the hardest day. It was the day that we were in this in the airport. Well, all the days were in the airport, but this was the big day where the hostages are coming through and they're going to get on the airplane. And I had to make all of my airline announcements into this loud speaker. And there were hundreds of extras, and it's just this huge space that feels like a big, airport waiting area to get on the airplane. And so, my first lines are like into this loudspeaker. So, it felt like a lot of pressure. But I went ahead and did it. And I had to time it. I had to say my line, this particular line, like right as the actors were hitting this like pillar, but it was still pretty far away from me. So it was so hard to time it. So I do it once, and then all of a sudden, and I knew that it wasn't quite on as well. And I see Ben Affleck just like beelining it for my counter, and I'm like, okay, here comes Ben.
Oh no.
And he says in this very like dry, just very serious voice, like, you just effed up the whole scene. And then and then he starts laughing, and he's like, "Don't worry about it." He's like, but immediately they without even like making me try it again like that, they stuck a guy underneath the counter that had like a headset, and so he could be cued when I needed to say the line, and then he tapped my leg so that I didn't have to visually be able to figure out when to say it. So that was great. They were very helpful, and Ben Affleck was very sweet and had a great sense of humor, and as just kept things feeling very low key and loose. Mm-hmm. And then I kept thinking, well, when am I going to get to say this line of German? And so I think on the second or third day was the day that I had the scene where the one of the guards pushes me into the gate, and Ben said, or must have been the second day, and Ben says, "But this was not where I had learned the line. This was not where I thought it was going to be." But Ben says, "Do any of you speak German?" And I'm like thinking, yes, it's not for this part. Like, I don't know this isn't where I know the line. This isn't right. So I didn't say anything. But then when the scene finally comes up where I had learned the line he doesn't ask for it. So I had to like muster up my courage on this huge production to be like, Ben, hey Ben, I could say a line of German here into the walkie, and this is what it means. And he said, let me hear it. And so I did it, and he was like, great, cover that. And so I got myself a close-up right there, then and there, and I just asked, I just went ahead and asked for it, and it ended up right in, it's very much in the film, and it was a nice one shot on me, and it just goes to show that, you gotta be ready and not be afraid to I guess work together, and it's a group effort putting these huge projects together and being a part of it, collaborating.
Yeah, and there's such big projects that you also have to stand for yourself, and it's what you did. If you hadn't said, hey, I can say this line, you wouldn't have gotten the close-up.
No, it would have been gone.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you have to not be shy to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And I just love how you went above and beyond for the audition in itself. Like, you hired a accent coach, and that's you need that sometimes. You need the professional.
You do. I think knowing when you need to ask for help and being willing to do that is so important,
Yeah.
Because you're not, there's going to be a lot of no's, and you never want to think that you didn't do everything that you could have to prepare. And that if you didn't get the job, it wasn't because you didn't, for your own lack of preparation,
Of course. But I think the reason why you got the job is because you went above and beyond.
That's true.
And you didn't just go in with an okay accent. You wanted it to be perfect. And that's very important.
Yes.
So I'm guessing you started as an actress, you said, when you were little, and then you became a voice coach. So I'd love to know how that happened.
Yeah. So, well, I actually did end up going to college as a music major. So I did end up sort of through high school and junior high start singing a lot more, and I ended up getting a scholarship for vocal performance and going to college as for classical singing. Oh. And it wasn't until after that I moved to LA, and I got more into acting. Once I got to LA, I got into doing TV commercials and started getting some small acting opportunities, and then really dug into acting class here in LA. You're in LA too, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So I started taking a lot of acting classes here. So I didn't do, some people have a different journey and they do acting, they get a degree in acting in college. I didn't do that. I did mine in music. But then I did a lot of acting, but it was always doing a bit of music on the side, like a singer-songwriter type stuff, and writing and recording. And eventually, the truth of my story is that I had some challenges with my voice, and okay. I felt that I felt that my voice was limiting me, both in my songwriting, but also even as an actor. When I was younger, like before I did Argo and before I was maybe working more, I would get some feedback in my auditions about, I just remember a couple of casting directors saying stuff to me like, you need to get your voice more in your body, or, you're just giving me some feedback that I needed to work on my voice. So it took me a long time to sort of figure out what that meant and find teachers that I felt were able to help me. But that was what started my curiosity and journey of figuring out it was my own vocal challenges that really got me interested in the voice and singing, because I was just so determined to want to figure it out for myself, because I didn't want to feel limited anymore as an actor or as a singer or as a songwriter. It's such a horrible feeling when you feel like you have something inside you that is kind of being stuck or limited because of your instrument, or you're not, like, my body was getting in the way, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of actors listening can relate. I can completely relate. I've gotten comments like that, like your voice is not coming out the right way, whatever it is. And it makes you very insecure, because maybe you're not listening to it either. Like, you don't know what they're talking about. And it's like, okay, how am I supposed to fix this?
Yeah.
And
it gets
then
worse
you think,
when
I
you're
don't know
nervous.
And then you think, well, maybe I can't fix it. So I guess my question for you now is, like, do you think anybody can fix it or learn how to sing or learn how to speak for stage?
I really do. If you can make sound, then I absolutely believe that you can get your voice mechanically working in a more optimal way, and whether that's to learn to sing or be able to act for stage, or for, for me, it wasn't even acting for stage. It was like for film and TV, just,
Right.
I remember going into, my voice used to crack.
Okay.
It was so I would go and it was exacerbated by nerves. So like going into an audition, I would get so nervous, and I would go in and it would just, sometimes the only thing I could think about was trying to speak in a way that my voice wasn't going to crack and make me sound like I was like going through puberty.
Yes.
I wasn't, it was like, what a horrible place to be, that I wasn't even able to be focused on like my acting, or like being present in my scene, because I was so distracted by what was happening in my voice and my nerves, and like I sounded so nervous. So yes, I believe though that I approach it from both a mind, helping yourself. How do we deal with all that, the nerves and what happens to our bodies? Because I even still get, I feel nerves happen to me when I'm, going to a big set, or, even today, getting on this interview, it's like, I'm like, oh, I'm a little sweaty. I feel myself, I'm excited. I'm excited about being here. So I use tools like meditation and just some mindfulness techniques that help me to be able to allow that to sort of flow through me instead of it getting kind of caught and, my body then tensing up and having it affect my voice so much.
Yes.
And then I also did a lot to understand and work on how I was using my voice. And as a teacher, learning, I actually made the most progress with my voice once I became a teacher. It was like I learned just by teaching it and learning what I needed to learn to teach it allowed me to really go deep with it in myself. And the more I understood it for myself, the more I feel I was able to teach it, right?
Yes. What you're saying, again, I can completely relate. Maybe not as much like in speaking or theater, but for me, it's been like with singing, and it's something, it still happens. I'm at home, I rehearse the song for the audition, and it sounds great. Then you get there and it's like, where is my voice? And no matter what you do, it just doesn't come out.
Yeah.
And so how do you help your students find their voice?
So first of all, I feel like, there's a lot that goes into each individual's voice, right? Like depending on what your own individual issues are, I would address those. So, is your voice balanced? And I would give individualized exercises to help strengthen the parts of someone's voice that needed to be strengthened. But at the same time, I feel like teaching a voice user, whether it's a singer or a speaker, when we're when I'm teaching, like having them really get in tune with these awarenesses, physical awarenesses of what's happening in their body when it's working. Like we've got it working, and really having them notice what's happening in their body, not because the voice isn't just coming from here out, right? It's not like neck up, right? It's whole body. Absolutely. And I think that's a big part of what happens with our nerves. When we get nervous, sometimes we tense up, and we tense up our abdomen, and then our breath isn't flowing. And even just there, if we start getting a tense abdominals and that breath flow stops, it's like so much gets off balance and stops working, right? So, I first deal with getting the voice in balance, helping them understand what that all feels like when it's in balance, so they understand what is helping it all work together. So they know also when they're on their own, if something's kind of going off, they start to know for themselves what they need to address. Is it abdominal tension? Is it something that's happening in the vocal folds and in that coordination? Is it in the resonant tract, right? Your vocal tract here that resonates all of that, the vibration that happens here, that happens from the airflow. It's like those three things have to really be in balance and work together. And then once I can get someone really understanding how that all works together, and I work with mindfulness even within that whole process. Like I begin each lesson with a mindfulness exercise, and we revisit mindfulness throughout the experience, where I'm having them check in with like what sensations they're feeling and where, so that when it comes to performing or going into the audition, they have a bit of they have a practice or a routine that they can do in terms of the mindfulness, but they also have an awareness of really what it feels like. Because so even in my journey of progress, like sometimes it would start to, I could get my voice working, but then it would be like I'd get there and it would be like, well, wait, but now it's not working anymore.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
What happened? But I think a lot of that was my lack of awareness of why was it working when it was working, so that I could tap into that, keep myself feeling like keeping my body feeling free, and tap into the feelings and sensations that I experience when I'm home on my own and working and it's working great. And bring that to the audition room, bring that to set, bring that to stage. I hope that wasn't too long of an answer for that
Yeah, no,
question,
that
but
makes sense. And a lot of it is not just physical, but in the mind.
yes.
At least I know that for me, it's, when you get there, it's all the thoughts, especially I think also for women, it's like, well, you've been told not to be too loud or whatever. So like maybe we don't speak up enough. And then you get there and it's like, well, what if I'm not good enough? What if I can't sing really? And things like that. And that starts to build up. So I think,
So, yeah,
yeah,
so
a lot
distracting, right?
working on that too, not just the physical. And I love that you're saying you have that mindfulness practice at the beginning.
Yeah, because I mean, all those thoughts you're talking about, we all get them, right? We all have
Yeah.
this like, this dialogue that can start to go on, and it's so distracting. And if we allow ourselves to attach to one of those thoughts and we take it as like a train of thought, and then that, I mean, I remember, being at an audition, and I had dressed a certain way, and I see like the other women there and they're dressed a completely different way, and I'm sitting there obsessing over
Yes.
like what I wore to the audition instead of and at this point I did have some tools, and I was like, I caught myself, I had this awareness of like, whoa, this seems really not helpful for
Yeah.
me in the waiting room. And I remember thinking that, I just decided there's nothing I can do about it. I wore this. This is it.
Yeah.
And I went back to my character thoughts and my moment before, and what was what's happening to my character, right before so that my jump off into the scene I was really ready to just jump into that scene, and I ended up booking that job.
Right. And it's like you said before that you saw the Swedish actress and you were like, well, they're going to cast her, of course. And I always
Yeah.
say it in the podcast, like you really don't know what the people auditioning are thinking. And they don't see it the same way you see it. So you thinking about those things is really not helpful at all.
Yeah. It's so
So
true.
do you think people can learn to sing in different styles at the same time? Would you recommend someone starting with just one style, or what would you recommend starting with?
I mean, I do believe you can cross train and sing in different styles.
Hmm.
I think initially when I work on someone's voice, we're kind of going for more of we're really, I kind of say, don't worry about style right now. We're just going to get the foundation of the voice working. We're going to get function over style to begin with. And then
Okay.
once we get it functioning, then it opens you up to like styles. Now, I mean, the one caveat I will give that like is that like I do think like I was trained classical
Hmm.
in a classical style, and it took me a while to kind of get to where I was like felt really comfortable also singing contemporary and pop and all of that, and I do feel confident that I can do both.
Hmm.
But I would say if you've never sung before, I wouldn't dive into maybe both trying to sing classical and singing pop, because it's a lot, and singing classical music is it's quite an art form, and I'm not saying look, anything's possible, but I'm just saying like it might be easier if you were maybe looking at songs that were all within like maybe pop and R&B and like soul, as opposed to like pop and like a classical aria, right?
Right. It's very different things.
They're very
Yeah.
different. Yeah, they're very
Yeah.
different. But I'm not saying it can't be done. I think people who want to become a serious opera singer, I would say focus on that. Stay in that
Right.
lane. If you're singing for fun, I suppose, and you don't have expectations of trying to, sing opera or something like that, then, certainly you could play around with all of that. And in musical theater, there's a lot of variety of styles within musical theater, from legit, which sounds more classical, especially for us sopranos. You've got like stuff from like carousel and cabaret and all of that,
Yeah.
versus like you've got then like Spring Awakening or something that or Hamilton that's got like
Hamilton,
hip
yeah.
hop in it, right? So there is definitely a lot of benefit to, I think, cross training the voice and being able to to adjust the vocal tract in ways that and get get the coordinations happening to be able to do all of those styles.
Yeah, absolutely. And now that you're bringing up Broadway, I mean, a lot of actors listening, I know they want to be on Broadway or they're doing musical theater. And I found, I used to live in New York and I used to go to Broadway a lot. And I thought it was very interesting. There were some singers that were very well trained and their technique was perfect, but the acting was lacking in some way. And then some actors that were so great and were able to add that acting into the singing. Maybe the singing wasn't so perfect. It was better, at least for me, from my point of view. And it's what you're saying, if you can go to all of them, but also be able to bring yourself into it.
Yeah.
It's better than having just that perfect technique.
Absolutely. I always say, like, at the end of the day, like, the best singing is not the best technical singing. It's the best communication. It's like, you know, that's what we want. We're communicating, just like in acting. I feel like there's so much crossover between acting and singing in that way.
Yeah. So I know this is a weird question and I bet it changes for everybody, but how long do you think it takes to learn to sing?
I mean, yeah, it is definitely, I wish there was like, I could just give you one short, quick, clear answer for that. Right. It definitely does depend. I mean, you know, we all come into it with different backgrounds. Like, I think, you know, it makes a difference even if you like grew up listening to a lot of music as a kid or singing a lot as a kid, you know, that can sometimes help you learn faster depending on when you're trying to learn it, right? So, but I mean, people make progress in one lesson, right? So then it kind of comes down to like, how much are you willing to put into it? And you know, I mean, I see when people will commit to like a half an hour of practice 4 or 5 times a week, especially if they're doing weekly lessons, but even which I think weekly lessons, if you've never taken voice lessons and you really don't know what you're doing, I think starting out with some weekly lessons to begin with is a great idea, because you don't have as much time to like if you accidentally started practicing something the wrong way, you have that feedback at your weekly lesson to sort of catch that. But you know, I see people make progress pretty quickly, like within a few months, you know, you're like really making progress. But it depends, you know. I mean, I think some people, it's like, it also depends on how much, like if pitch and hearing pitch and matching pitch is kind of an issue, that can take a little bit of time to sort of get that muscle going. But I've even seen people, you know, really overcome what, you know, they come in saying that they think they're tone deaf and they're not, right? Very few people are legitimately tone deaf. But you know, I even see them make fast progress if they put the work in. Right.
Do you think there's some, not mistakes, maybe misconceptions that a lot of like people that come to work with you have in common, or like things that people do wrong when they try to sing or work on their voice?
I think, yeah, I mean, I do see some common misconceptions, like sometimes people come in and they think it's all about the breath. They just think if they gave it more breath support that everything would be solved. And while breath is a total, like, it's absolutely an essential, it's one of the pillars, it's necessary, like, to me, like, helping people understand that it's really like this whole system, and we have the breath, and then we have the vocal cords that vibrate, and then we have this resonating track, and all of that has to work together. So yeah, if you leave the breath out, it's not gonna work. But the breath isn't like this cure-all. Like, if you know, they come in and they're just like, I need to work on my breath support. I need to work on my breath support. And it's like, okay, like you might need to, but there also might be some things in here, like, you know, getting your vowels more pure and getting
placement,
you know, and I don't even really work, like, I try to work from like a cause and effect. That's another actual misconception that I feel like I see too. It's like this idea of placement of like, I need to place the voice more forward, or I need to place it in the mask. I try to work from more of a cause and effect type of way to teach it, because to me, like, placement, it's like me trying to like make a sound, like clap and be like, yeah, I'm gonna make that sound like be over there, and it's like you can't really do that. You have to like know, like, that's why it's like I want to figure out, well, what's the cause of when we get that effect of that feeling, and maybe you feel it forward, maybe that is a part of the sensation, but I think completely working from that idea of placing the voice can actually it can rob you of other sensations that can be going on that can be really helpful in getting it all working together.
Yeah, and I think everybody works different. And it's so
Totally.
important to find a voice coach that works in your style or the method you want to be working.
Totally.
But I agree with you. I mean, it's not the same, but I did have an accent coach because I was born in Spain and I barely spoke American when I came here. So, and I still haven't gotten to my general American, but I remember she just kept repeating the placement thing that you're saying, and that just didn't resonate with me. It's what you're saying. I couldn't feel it. I didn't know what that meant really.
So I feel and it might work for some people. So I kind of take the cue off of whoever I'm working with. And if they say, like, if I hear them and they're doing it in the way that in a way that's working and that I want to hear, and they say, well, I feel it, like, this is what it feels forward, or it feels this. I'm like, great, use that. Like, that's perfect, So I know there are teachers out there that use more of a placement idea that have a lot of success with their students. So I certainly don't knock it, but I like to kind of work a little bit differently. And then sometimes once I get all that working, then we can explore a little bit more in that esoteric idea of well, but I don't start. I don't start there though.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I love everything that you're doing on Instagram. It's very cool. And I've been looking for a voice coach to bring on the podcast for a while. And the reason I brought you is I love what you're doing on Instagram, the exercises you're giving. And I saw that you had a straw in water exercises that you do every morning. And I wanted you to share with us all these practices that we can do home.
Yes. So especially for actors, I feel like sometimes they don't, especially if they're not singers, they don't really know what to do to warm up their voice. It can feel a little bit like, well, I don't know, they might even feel like they're supposed to do articulation exercises and say tongue twisters or something. But I love this straw in water exercise, which I have on my website, in my blog, but it's really easy. And you just you can just take this. I don't know if this will, well, actually, if I take my lid off, I can do it, but I won't do the whole thing, but I'll give you a little idea of it. You can just take a regular straw. I have a little metal straw here, and a glass of water. And you can start to warm up the whole system by first just even blowing air into the straw and making bubbles, and keeping this a really steady stream. So you don't want the bubbles getting big and small and splashing your face. And then you add sound, and then I'll do it a little bit. I'll give you an example. Yeah. And then you start. So the no sound thing would just be. And you'd keep doing that as long as you can. And what I want people to notice is, well, what does that feel like in your body? What do you feel in your belly when you do that? And then just keeping everything as, relaxed as possible. Yeah. And then you can add sound and just pick a pitch. One of the things that really helped me as an actress with my speaking voice was because people were saying to me, your voice isn't in your body, or it doesn't have the depth that it needs. I started really trying to lower my voice. And I would kind of speak down here. And
that's such a common mistake. Yeah.
And so one of the ways to kind of find your happy voice, or the best pitch for your voice, is to just agree with me. Go ahead and just. You're going to say, You're going to agree with me, but you have to genuinely do it with emotion. So I'm going to say something, and I want you to agree. I'm going to just say wow, we're so lucky to live in LA where the weather's so great. Okay, so you take that second pitch. You kind of went, So I would kind of take around this pitch, and then you would take that and into your straw in water.
Okay.
And then and then you can start to also just go up and down and do some
Right.
slides and glides. But one of the tricks, one of the keys to this exercise, and I think this is beneficial for all speakers, is that we want the larynx, where our vocal cords live, to be really, we just want it to be neutral and relaxed. We don't want to be depressing it down, so which was what I was kind of doing to try to lower my voice and all of that. But we also don't want it like really high up here, where it almost sounds like, or where we sound like we kind of have a little girl's voice, or just, it doesn't have very much depth to it.
Yeah.
So I use kind of a dog panting exercise to find that medium-sized dog. So if this was my big dog, that's where my larynx is really low. And my little dog is like, that's my high larynx. But if I find a medium-sized dog, there, my larynx is nice and neutral. So you want it to be nice and relaxed while you do those exercises.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love the straw one. It's like when you're little and you're drinking your chocolate milk and you're playing with the bubbles.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah.
It's really fun. Another one that, once, the straw one works great, but people who can either do a lip trill or a tongue trill, so like a or a, that's a great way to warm up the voice too. Just, so.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's the one I was actually taught in acting school. And I just remember doing that in the shower and everywhere.
Yeah. It is fun. A lot of people again, with that one as well, you want to make sure you have that nice neutral, or even with that one, you can be a little more, just make sure you have that vowel on the inside so that you're not like, you're nice and loose.
Relaxed, yeah.
Yep, nice and relaxed.
Yeah, that's an important thing. Okay. Before you go, I would love for you to tell us where people can find you and where they can work with you.
Oh, wonderful. I would love to share that. Okay, so, I'm on Instagram at annielittle.voice. My website is annielittle.com, and I have my blog on there, which I call the Voice Talk blog. Sometimes it's videos, sometimes it's written blogs, sometimes I have guests and I interview people. And I'm running out of spots because I'm getting fuller, but right now I am offering a free intro lesson so that you can see if we're a good fit. And it's for people who are really interested in working on their voice and doing more of like an ongoing lessons. But I do offer that right now so that you can just, no commitment, just like come in, meet me on Zoom and I'll give you a lesson and you can see how I work and see how you like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, you should take on this offer. And her blog is amazing. I've read all of it and it's really awesome. So yeah, definitely check it out. And thank you so much for being with us today and all your amazing advice.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for having me. It was so much fun to be here and I'm excited to see our interview.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the interview with Annie. We didn't talk about this during the episode, but she is launching a set of guided meditations for performers next week. So if you go sign up for her mailing list, you will be the first to find out about that. There is a free body scan guided meditation that's tailored for performers right now in her website. And if you do that, it will get you on that list. Her website is annielittle.com. She has her blog there with a lot of information and tons of cool stuff, and also all the information if you want to work with her as a voice coach. So thank you so much again, Annie, for joining us in the Actor's Vow. And before we finish this week's episode, let's bring the play of the week. This week, I want to talk about a classic, one of my dream roles for a very long time. I got the opportunity to do some scenes of it and some monologues of it in college, but I still would love to be in the whole play. The play of the week this week is The Seagull by Anton Chekhov. There's so many plays by Anton Chekhov that I bet you've read in school, and probably The Seagull might be among all of them, but there are so many others that I feel like are talked about more or studied more, and I just love The Seagull so much. I think it's very funny that it's considered a comedy, and I'm like, I don't know if this is a comedy. Definitely a very Russian comedy, but it has awesome monologues, awesome scenes for female and male characters, and it's a classic that I think any actor should read. It's beautiful if you love stories and very deep and tormented characters. That's how I would describe main character Nina in the story. So, The Seagull by Anton Chekhov. Thank you so much, guys, for another week. Next week, I have a very special guest. It's someone who has had a big impact in my life. It's a very talented actor with a lot of presence, a lot of experience on TV, film, theater, many, many, many years as a working actor. So he's gonna be giving incredible advice about the industry and life as an actor, not just, auditioning and all those things, but like, what the hell do you do when you're not working? So that will be next week. I hope you have an incredible rest of the week, and I will see you next Wednesday.